Hello, everybody, and either welcome or welcome back to my podcast. As always, if you do like this, I do like to remind you to please rate, comment, and subscribe. You can find me on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, and YouTube. To all my white ladies out there, go ahead and raise a toast because we have broken the glass ceiling. Yes, white ladies, we have finally done it. Over the past week, we have finally surpassed white men as being the most hated demographic in lefty circles. We have finally surpassed the men in something. Yes, we did it, ladies. We have done it. We have beaten the white men out to be number one. But obviously I am referring to, and I'm sure everybody has already seen at this point, ever since the midterms, there has been a certain strain of thought amongst lefty circles about white women and what the hell is wrong with white women, because apparently the blue wave that materialized, which kind of, spoiler alert for future content, it's really beginning to look more like that house pickup is going to be a lot closer to 40 than 30. So obviously a pretty decent showing for Democrats. I mean, that is pretty major, and they also picked up a bunch of governorships, a bunch of state houses they picked up a lot of seats in. But apparently all that is somehow not good enough because certain candidates didn't win their elections. Excuse me. Apparently this is all somehow the fault of white women, and the fact that I don't even think this is, well, I guess maybe it is nationwide. I really haven't sat down and crunched the numbers to really, I don't really give a shit, honestly. But especially in the Beto Cruz election, it turned out that most of the white women that voted did vote for Ted Cruz. And so obviously any lefty candidate that lost, any of the darlings that lost, clearly this has something to do with white women. And also, although it's not been called as of yet, our Georgia gubernatorial race, the Kemp Abrams one, it looks like white women broke for Kemp, which, I mean, I live in Georgia. Like, this is not shocking to me. Like, I don't understand people who are surprised by this because obviously you don't live in Georgia. But anyway, moving on past that, because that's not really the point of this. There has been this spate of tweets / tweet threads / Facebook posts / thought pieces, I guess. I don't know how much thought is put into the thought pieces about how white women really need to get their shit together and get down with the team and start voting for liberal candidates because I don't know. I've not seen any concrete reason given as to why we need to do that. But let's just go ahead and take a moment and revel in the fact that right now we are besting the white men. We are beating the white men, and I'm sure this will all come to a crashing halt soon here because of the patriarchy. But I wanted to go ahead and discuss one piece, and this is pretty much the worst piece I found. It's definitely not the only piece out there. But this is a piece from the Daily Beast. It is part of their open letter series, so this isn't like, serious journalism or anything. It is an opinion piece titled, charmingly, "Dear White Lady, What Are You Doing to Us?" by a lady named Goldie Taylor, whom, as we find out in the piece, is black. Not that it really should be here nor there, but apparently since we are playing racial politics and identity politics, I guess it bears mentioning. And obviously, since I am of a certain melanin level and possess a certain set of genitalia, I suppose I should comment on this, even though I don't fit into their definition of a white lady here as far as voting conservative. Libertarians are not conservatives. Do not ever get that confused. But this piece was just so ridiculously overbearing and condescending and just really, really indicative of a lot of the shit that I've seen come down from lefty Twitter and other various places like that about how white women need to get their shit together, basically. So let's just go ahead and get into the piece. She starts off with, I don't know your name and I doubt you know mine. Sometimes we wind up in the grocery store checkout line together. We used to sit a couple rows apart watching our kids play soccer, t-ball, or some other organized sport they roped us into. Come to think of it, our children graduated from high school in the same class. But I guess in the hustle and bustle of raising kids, washing laundry, loading the dishwasher, and rounding up the troops for a night out at the movies or a dreaded vacation with the in-laws, it was just too hard to get any time to ourselves. Yes, momming sounds hard. And momming stuff. And because you are a mom and I am a mom, we must have all the things in common. Like, you can't possibly have had kids and somebody else have had kids and have differing opinions on things, apparently. I don't know. I'm not a mom. I don't ever plan on being a mom. So I don't know anything about soccer games or t-balls or doing laundry or herding kids. But, wow, it sure sounds like a blast. The point is, for a lot of years, we've been like ships passing in the night. I meant to introduce myself sooner. Maybe invite you over for coffee or get the kids together for a play date. Okay, well, why didn't you there, Goldie? Anyway. After all, I want to think we're more alike than different. That even though I am black, our challenges are more similar than not. That we both want great things for our kids. And I don't know about you, but I got divorced 2 decades or so back. So it was just me all those years. Pushing, pulling, always exhausted, and always out of time. Did I mention that we both probably getting paid less for the same work that a man does? You had to shoehorn that last sentence onto that graph, didn't you? Like there was nothing else in that paragraph going on that had shit else to do with being a mom. But you just had to slap that on there. Like, really? Come on now. But yeah, I mean, okay, so you're a mom, and your fictitious white lady is a mom. And again, you did mom things, and you were divorced, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool. Whatever. What does that have to do with anything? But, getting back to the piece, I want to call you sister because, we're both women navigating our own complicated pile of bullshit. But, of course, that would be too familiar. Oh, okay. So, I thought I thought all the women's were supposed to be sisters, so I don't. Okay, Goldie. Anyway, we're both older now and hopefully a bit wiser. Since the kids are gone, I've got a bit more time to myself. Isn't it great? No more juice boxes, microwavable macaroni and cheese, and, for the love of God, no more scraped knees and elbows because my son doesn't know the meaning of the words, get your ass down from there before you fall and break your goddamn neck or something. Again, having kids doesn't mean that, like, all of a sudden you have some kind of bizarre solidarity with every other woman that's had kids. I don't get. Okay, I don't get appealing to women on this level, but this is very much a me thing, and we'll discuss that a little further as we get into the piece. But this emotional, like, trying to create this emotional equivalency because you did a thing and I did a thing, so therefore we must be something of the same person makes no fucking sense to me, whatever. Anyway, moving on. Maybe now we can slow down and get acquainted. I've been meaning to ask you something. It's been on my mind a good while, especially after Donald Trump won the 2016 race for president. Now that the 2018 midterms are behind us, I figure now is a good time as any to ask, what is wrong with you? So as you can see, we're now starting to get to the point of this piece, which is basically to say, white lady, white girl, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why do you keep voting for non-Democrats? Or why do you keep voting for the people that I don't like? Okay, getting back to the piece, and I'm going to read this part kind of through a little long and kind of break it down afterwards, because there is a very specific point I want to make about this next paragraph. I don't mean you personally necessarily. I know you don't speak for all white women in the same way that I cannot possibly represent the voice of all women of color. And I don't mean all of you, of course. But I really want you to what I really want to understand is how you, or anyway, so many women like you, chose a man like Donald Trump over a vastly more qualified Hillary Clinton. I want to know if you honestly thought he had the moral compass, not to mention the mental wherewithal, to be president of these United States. There may be a good number of reasons that you just flat out tired of the Clinton name. However, I can guarantee you that she wouldn't have left people to suffer in Puerto Rico. The city of Flint would have gotten the federal funding it needed to completely overhaul its water system. We certainly would not be the laughingstock of leaders from around the globe. No one would have been snickering during her address to the United Nations. Okay, so just to roll this all the way up back to the beginning of this, and to steal a line from Michael Malice, anything before the but in a statement can be safely ignored. So the whole part about not meaning you personally and not thinking that you speak for all white women, yeah, you can just go ahead and throw that shit in the trash bin. Because what we're really wanting to talk about is white women. Why did you vote for Donald Trump over our very much more vastly qualified candidate in Hillary Clinton? Which, listen, you're never going to catch me out here saying that Trump is qualified to be president or was qualified when he was running. But, I mean, I guess on paper she was more qualified. Sure, I'll give you that. But that's not to say that she would have made a better president. And in fact, a lot of the things that she was on paper as being qualified to do probably turned a lot of people off to her. I don't get the Hillary worship. Like, I don't understand why still at this point nobody wants to admit how bad Hillary screwed up the election. But anyway, what else is fascinating here is this insinuation that she wouldn't have left people to suffer in Puerto Rico, which, again, she's referring to the hurricane, which who the fuck knows what Hillary would have done. But as far as the city of Flint getting the federal funding it needed to completely overhaul its water systems, Obama didn't do it. What the fuck makes you think Hillary would have did it? I mean, come on now. Like, let's not pretend like that shit happened in January of 2017. That shit had been going on for years. Don't try to play it off like Obama didn't have anything to do with it, and like he couldn't have sent federal funding to do it, or that he couldn't have made it a priority. No. That's, you don't get a pass from me on that. And as far as being laughingstocks of leaders around the globe, I don't know. I mean, maybe not as laughy as Trump, but I'm sure there would be a lot of people behind Hillary's back who already had a negative, nasty opinion about her and how she got her positions and how she got her job talking shit. They may not have said it to her face, but you can be damn sure they would have said it behind her back. Anyway, back to the piece. Sure, Clinton won over the majority of women, but it was white women who helped hand Trump the presidency, according to a Washington Post national poll. When Trump says he won the women's vote, he means you, or at least the 45% of those of you who are college educated, and 62% of you who do not have a college degree. Clinton won the popular vote because women of color picked up all that slack. Did anybody else notice that so subtle note of classism in there, in discussing who does and does not have a college degree? By basically saying that, you 62% of you that don't have a college degree, that's why you voted for Trump, because you're stupid. Oh, yeah. Way to show off that bias there. That's, I mean, like they can't help it. Like, there's so much classism in lefty culture that it's like they can't help it. Like, they cannot fucking help having that come out in really just the worst possible moments. Like, and this is a point that I'm probably going to come back to again and again in this episode, but if what you are trying to do is craft a message to speak to these women, to try to convince them to change party affiliation, maybe not sliming them would be a really fucking good place to start. Just a thought. But of course, we don't get to that part. Ever. Apparently. Judging from what I've seen online over the past week, nobody seems to have internalized that particular message. So, moving on. Surely you heard the way he talked about women on the Access Hollywood tape. You weren't convinced when he called undocumented immigrants rapists and murderers? Or when he said in a nationally televised interview that women who seek reproductive health care to end unwanted pregnancies should be punished? Seriously, I think he meant jail. According to a Pew public opinion poll, 40% of Republican women are pro-choice. Overall, more than half of all women believe abortion should be legal in all or most cases. But y'all still voted for this guy. Okay. Here is a point that I would like to make, and feel free to rebut me on this if I am wrong. I think we have reached the point, for better or for worse, where single issue voting is dead and gone. I don't think there's anybody voting anymore based on things like reproductive health, like Roe v. Wade voting, or voting solely on fiscal issues. Unfortunately, I wish we could get back to that. Or voting on any other particular social issues, or voting because of like the old moral majority stuff where you're voting on quote unquote Christian values and stuff like that. I think that kind of voting is dead. And I say for better or for worse because what seems to have replaced it is tribal voting, where you will vote for somebody no matter how objectionably awful the person is, as Trump is, because they have the right letter behind their name. They have the R behind their name. They have the D behind their name. And that's all that matters. So I guess maybe I should scale that back and say we're not past single issue voting, but the single issue that matters most is tribal affiliation. So to go back to Goldie here, this idea that women vote based on Roe v. Wade anymore, I think that is pretty much dead. I don't really see that being a thing anymore. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know. It's just a feeling that I have. Like, I think we've moved past that and we've moved to something kind of a little darker in a way. And I don't necessarily know if that's a good thing, but anyway, moving back on to the piece. Forgive me if I ain't buying the economic anxiety thing. You're afraid and Trump knows it. That's why he keeps talking about a violent invasion coming from our southern border. He's a racist and a bigot. You know this, yet you gave him your vote. Why? Because somewhere deep inside you, you think he's going to protect you from those other people. Okay. I will agree with Goldie on this because I call bullshit on the economic anxiety thing too. Like, I think there's a hell of a lot more to it about being worried about migrant caravans and people coming over the border and people coming in on visas than economic anxiety. But I'm not comfortable calling Trump a racist or a bigot. And here's why. I do not think Trump is intellectually deep enough to have any kind of serious opinion on much of anything. Like, I think dude's about as fucking deep as a puddle after a 15-minute sun shower in the middle of summer. Like, this is not somebody who gives deep introspective thought to anything really and then forms like a deep philosophical opinion as far as being a racist or a bigot. I mean, that's something that pretty much runs deep, and he's just not that deep. What he is, however, is he is somebody who will play to a room. And so if he is in a room, if he's in a rally, he's doing an interview, he's doing what the fuck ever, and he says something like Mexicans are rapists and murderers, and he gets applause, he's gonna just double, triple, quadruple down on that because he wants the applause. Like, he's not there really espousing an ideology because he believes in an ideology. He's doing it because that's what the room wants from him. And so they're giving him what he wants with the applause. So he's going to turn around and give them back what they want, which is more of what the fuck ever he just said. So I don't think he is a racist or a bigot, but I think there are enough people that show up to his public appearances and his rallies that are racist and bigots that if he says a certain thing, they will react in such a way that is positive and makes him say, okay, this is what plays well in this room. Let me just keep riding this until we just ride off into the sunset with it. Whatever. I mean, whatever be damned. Like, however I end up looking, I got my applause. I'm happy. I'm I mean, it's obvious that dude is a complete narcissist. Like, why the fuck do you keep having rallies? Like, you're not running again for another 2 years. He just keeps showing up to these things because that's what he likes. Like, I think that's the only part he likes about being president, is just showing up places and having people applaud for him. But that's Trump. I mean, that's what he's always been. That's what he's always going to be. So, not surprising, but yeah, I don't think you can really ascribe any kind of ulterior motives to him once you realize that that's really just, that's how he is. That's what he's doing. Anyway, moving back onto the piece. Are you honestly not worried about what a conservative Supreme Court might do to turn back the clock on human rights? Now, the only human rights that I see anybody on the left really being concerned about the Supreme Court turning back on is Roe v. Wade, which I've mentioned this before. We talked about this during one of my Kavanaugh episodes. I mean, I ended up doing 3 of them because that was just such a fucking circus. But anyway, he's not really made any intimations that he's interested in overturning Roe v. Wade. But my bigger point on Roe v. Wade, and just to put it out there, I am pro-choice. I do think that should be legal. I do think a woman does have a right to choose. But the problem with Roe v. Wade, and this is a problem that you see manifest so much more nowadays than even back then, which it was still a problem back then when Roe v. Wade was passed, is that the legislative branch punted its responsibility, in this case, to the judicial branch. So, yes, Roe v. Wade is a legal opinion that can be overturned by any Supreme Court who has a case in front of it that would deal with those issues. And if that was not the case, if the legislative branch had done what they were supposed to do and create a law to where if you wanted to have a law overturned, you would have to have a vote through Congress to get a law overturned, we wouldn't be having this discussion. So that's my biggest problem with Roe v. Wade, is that it's just one of many examples of the legislative branch kicking their job to either the judicial branch or the executive branch instead of doing their fucking job and making laws the way they're supposed to. Okay. Tangent over. Back to the piece. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that all women should be liberal, but what I am saying is that I would never cast a vote that I knew would hurt other women. Maybe our middle-class lives shield us from seeing some of the hurdles working class and poor women must surmount on a daily. However, if I knew for certain that a vote for one candidate or another would snatch food out of her children's mouth, or cut off access to affordable health care and great community schools, things I can well afford, I could not in good conscience cast that ballot. Okay, back to the old Malice quote of, you can ignore everything before the but in a statement. I don't think all women should vote liberal, but I think all women should be voting liberal in the way that I want them to vote. This is just so... And what the fuck is this? Like, I would never cast a vote that I knew would hurt other women. Like, when you're voting, and you're in the voting booth, you're supposed to be voting for the candidate that you want based on your personal ideological preferences, your ideas, your opinions, the things that you want to see happen in the world. You're not supposed to be sitting in there doing some kind of mental calculus and saying, okay, well, if I vote for this person, then XYZ will happen to all these other women and blah, 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 blah. That's not what the fuck voting is. Like, that's not how this works. And again, because there is so much fucking classism on the left, you just can't make it through this without pointing out your middle-class socioeconomic status. Like, what the fuck difference does that make? Why bring that up? Like, oh, so what, you think you have, like, middle-class privilege? Like, what the fuck is middle-class privilege? It's not, like, rich privilege. I mean, it might be better than poor privilege, but this idea that somehow, like, I'm trying to find the right words to say this. It really just comes off sounding really condescending in the way that if you are of a class that is above another class of human being, it is somehow your job to make sure that you take care of that other class. That you somehow, like, coddle them in a way. Coddle is not really the right word, but you guys understand what I'm saying. Like, right? Like, it's like you have to like go white knight for them. Like, you have to go help them. You have to go save them by doing whatever the fuck it is that you think you're doing, whether it's voting or acting a certain way, or you do a certain thing, or you say a certain thing, so that you can demonstrate that you're an ally to this underclass of people who are beneath you, so that you look like you're just this wonderful benevolent human being. And it's like, shut the fuck up. Like, stop it. That's just, oh, why look at people like that? Like, that's just so, it's for all the claims of egalitarianism that the left puts out. It's shit like this that just shows you that, like, no, you don't believe that shit. You all are classist as fuck. You really are. And then this appeal that, like, you have to vote for candidates because another one might snatch food out of her children's mouth or cut off access to affordable health care and great community schools. This is one that I'm trying to work through in the service of trying to answer a different question in the future. But I absolutely loathe emotional arguments. Like, I fucking hate emotional arguments. And that's all this is. Like, I have not seen like I said, I've not seen a single person who makes this argument put forth any kind of concrete policy, rational, like anything that would make a conservative woman want to switch party affiliation. Like, just appealing to people's emotions is just, especially when it's aimed towards women. Like, that kills me. It's just like, don't fucking condescend to me like that. Do not try to pander to my emotions. I'm better than that. All of you ladies are better than that too. You're not a fucking ball of emotions that just runs off of this goddamn panic and shit. Like, no, you can make a rational argument if you have one. So it triggers me. It triggers me. I hate emotional arguments. Anyway, let's keep going. See, if we're going to be sisters, the first rule has to be do no harm. Well, what if we ain't gonna be sisters? How about that? What if we're just gonna have to agree to disagree, or not agree to disagree, and do stupid shit like this? Like, why do they think women have to be some kind of monolith that just, like, moves in lockstep with everybody? Like, we are all individual human beings, and we all have our reasons for doing what we do, and how we do it, and the ways in which we do it. And I don't get it. Just this idea that because I have a vagina and you have a vagina, that somehow this means we have something in common, other than the fact that we have vaginas. Like, that means nothing to me. Okay. Back to the piece. What I am telling you is that by electing Trump to the White House, you broke that rule. Now, I figured that after nearly 2 years of this debacle on Pennsylvania Avenue, that you would see just how wrong you were about him. I thought it might upset you when the president nominated Brett Kavanaugh for a seat on the Supreme Court, and stood behind him even after a highly credible alleged victim, or more than one, said Justice Kavanaugh often drank more than his fill and had sexually assaulted them. I assumed it would make your stomach churn to see families separated at the border and children caged for weeks in makeshift camps. I assumed it would only be a matter of time before you abandoned the prospect of a presidential pivot. You didn't. Okay. Now, here's another new little thing that has appeared over the last week, and that is trying to guilt or shame women for voting for whoever they voted for. And again, obviously I did not vote for Trump, clearly, but this whole idea that somehow you should feel ashamed for having done that. Like, I'm sure there's lots of people that regret it, because, I mean, I don't even know why. You should have seen this shit coming a mile away, because God knows I did. And I'm not even that particularly observant. But I just thought, Trump has been who he's been for the past 30 years. Like, why is anybody surprised? Anyway. But this whole, like, trying to shame somebody. I know that is a big lefty thing. I get it. But seeing it applied in this way, it's like, do you not understand what you're doing? And when I say that, it's when you try to shame somebody and you try to guilt somebody into doing something or feeling a certain way for something that they did, more often than not only are you not going to achieve your aim, you're going to cause that person to double down on whatever it is that they did that you're trying to shame them for, even if they do actually regret it on some level, because now you're trying to bring, again, emotions into it. And when you try to do that emotional argument, people lock down on their original position. That's not the way to try to convince somebody to come up off that position. It's just when you're being attacked like that, you hunker down. You lock down. You just lock it in, and that's it. And you're not even going to try to hear what the other person has to say, because, I mean, why would you? Like, that's such a dirty, nasty thing to do. And I'm going to leave off all of the Kavanaugh stuff because I have already discussed that ad infinitum. We don't need to discuss that anymore. But suffice it to say, the credible allegations didn't turn out to be so credible after all. Just saying. And before I leave off of this, because I would be just completely remiss if I didn't point this out. Oh, so you care about children being separated from their parents at the border. That's funny, because I didn't hear a damn person give a shit about it when Obama did it. So why do you really care? Do you really care? Because I don't think you do. I think you care because the orange man's doing it. Because he didn't start that policy, he's just continued it. Which that ain't okay either, but let's not pretend like that shit didn't happen under Obama. And nobody said fucking boo about it. So spare me with that shit. Okay. We're gonna get through this, people. We're gonna do it. You stuck right with him into the midterms elections, and honey, I hate to tell you, but this is about as classy as he gets. I'll leave the blue wave talk to a more learned person. But by and large, you almost single-handedly sent Ted Cruz back to the U.S. Senate, elected Ron DeSantis governor of Florida, and if the numbers hold, Brian Kemp will become governor of Georgia. I understand party loyalty and ideological differences, but these are the kind of men who will do absolutely nothing to tear down the strictures of gender. In fact, they're damn happy with things just like they are. Leaving aside comments on Florida and Georgia because neither one of those races has been decided as of this recording right now, but like I alluded to in the opening, a lot of this stemmed from the fact that Beto lost to Ted. And okay, I've said my piece on Beto probably more times than I should have, but yeah, it's just okay. And again, you can disregard everything before the but, because all of a sudden, you're pissed off because, again, these women voted for people you didn't like, even though they did it of their own fucking free will. All of a sudden, you want to give them shit about it. Like, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Like, you don't get to tell somebody that you voted wrong. And again, I've said my piece on that too, because that's a trigger too. Like, don't ever fucking tell somebody that they voted wrong or that they wasted a vote or anything like that, because you can step off with that shit, honestly. But just this idea that, I understand party loyalty and ideological differences. Do you now? Because it really doesn't sound like you do. And now, this is coming from a libertarian woman who obviously, I know that there's not very many people that agree with my politics, and even fewer women that do. Like, let's face it, that's the knock against us, is that us women libertarians are unicorns. But just this, I would never give somebody shit for voting for somebody just because I didn't like them or I think that there was a better candidate or anything like that. Like, that's just, I don't get that. And again, how are you going to reach somebody if that is your genuine goal, is to actually reach out to conservative women and try to get them to flip party affiliation? How the fuck is this going to help anything? How is insulting somebody going to help that? can you figure this out? Like, God, y'all's messaging sucks. Okay, moving on. Even so, half of you pulled the lever for DeSantis and Cruz and won just under 60% of your votes, according to exit polls. I don't expect you to play gender politics, but I guess I was expecting you to walk away from any candidate, man or woman, who did not loudly and definitively speak up for the rights of women. If I have to make the but point one more goddamn time in this piece, I swear to God, don't play that little game. Like, obviously, you did expect women to play gender politics because that's exactly what the fuck you just described. What? Like, I have way more respect for people. Even if I don't agree with you, even if I think your views are vile or reprehensible or just plain stupid or wrong or whatever, if you just fucking own them. Like, don't try to parse it. Don't try to do a little two-step. Don't try to do the but thing. Just own it. Like, if you expect women to vote a certain way based on woman stuff, like, I don't even know what definitively speaking up for the rights of women would entail in this instance. Just say that. Don't try to step around it. Just own it. Anyway, imagine my shock when Kemp pulled nearly 80% of all white women who voted in the Georgia midterms against a supremely qualified black woman who not only hears you, but put that into action. That's a stilted sentence. Who edited this? Anyway, sorry, just slight wonky nerdishness there. But again, I will speak on the 80% of white women in Georgia thing because I think a lot of people who don't live in Georgia don't really understand how Georgia is. And the best analogy that I've actually come up with is like when you look at like an electoral map of New York, like, and you can look at New York City and it's blue as blue can be, but then like everything outside of it is either purple to red. That's what Georgia is like. And I won't even say that Atlanta is blue. I would say Atlanta is a solid purple, but everything outside of Atlanta is red as red can possibly ever fucking be. And if you don't understand that, you're gonna kind of miss the point of any statewide Georgia election. So yeah, hearing that 80% of white women in Georgia voted for Kemp, like, yeah, no shit. That doesn't shock me at all. Anyway, off of my little side tangent there and back to the piece. Did you not hear the fight in Stacey Abrams' voice? Did you not hear her when she dropped all the ideological talking points and crafted a plan for her state that prioritizes an investment in families? Did you not hear her when she said Republicans are actively declining $8 million a day in federal dollars because they refuse to expand Medicaid? That money is ours, and we're leaving it on the table while rural hospitals struggle and close. Okay. Setting aside what I've already said about emotional arguments, because I don't really need to repeat it again, I don't care about the fight in her voice. I don't care about her abandoning all her ideological talking points and crafting a plan for investment in families. What the fuck does that mean? What the fuck does investing in families mean? I don't know what that means. Here's my problem with this paragraph, and I'm sure pretty much anyone listening to this can already fucking figure it out. That $8 million a day is not fucking yours. It's somebody else's. That is going to be taken from them to be given to us $8 million a day out of other people's fucking pockets to fund Medicaid. Yes, some of us give a shit about that. Some of us don't think that's right. Some of us will vote specifically against that. Like, no, this is not fucking yours. That's not your money. Who the fuck told you it was your money? Oh my God. Like, no. And it's again, another one of those where the left kind of shows their hand in thinking that other people's money is your money. No, it's their money. And that $8 million a day is going to come out of somebody's pocket. And yeah, like I said, some of us got a big fucking problem with that. Okay, we're getting there. We're almost to the end. I promise. Alright. I have to tell you that I am not alone. Everywhere I looked across social media today, the same question was front and center. After 2016, a good many of us were disappointed. We did think, however, that you might come around by the time the 2018 fall contest got here. But rather than repudiate Trump's embarrassingly crass nature and inclination towards tweeting verbal bombs, you doubled down and sent some of his most staunch supporters back to Washington. Columnist, feminist activist, and social media denizen Moina Ethaway is out here calling you foot soldiers of the patriarchy. Okay. Again, if your honest goal is to try to convert conservative women to being liberal women, if you're trying to convert Republican women to being Democratic women, don't fucking insult them. Why is this hard? Why is this fucking hard to understand? Don't try to... Fuck. How? How does anybody deal with this? Like, you really think that just like shaming somebody is going to work? You think insulting somebody is going to work? This is how you don't win people to your cause. This is what you don't do. And recent events, complete side note that probably none of you are going to get. Recent events have caused me to realize that yes, insulting somebody is not a good way to try to convert anybody to your cause. Not saying, just saying, but I can't, like, how insinuating that somebody is a foot soldier of the patriarchy, and even before that, even before the midterms, even before all that, this insinuation that women, specifically white women, vote based on their melanin, vote based on the fact of who their husbands or their fathers or their brothers or whatever dudes in their life tell them to vote, that's not going to fucking win anybody to your cause. That's insulting. You're saying that they have no agency, that they have no brain in their head, and that there's no thoughts going around up there, that maybe, just maybe, they might be doing shit because they want to, not because they're being told to, or because they think, I don't know. I don't fucking know what they think that white women do. Like, I don't get it. It's just, I mean, if a man said the kind of things about women that lefty women said about other women, there would be screeching. But no, apparently it's okay to say shit like that if you're a woman about another woman. And yeah, this is why you're gonna fail. This is why 2020 is gonna be a hot goddamn mess. But let me go ahead and finish up the piece. How is that? To put it plainly, girl, what is wrong with you? The good news is 100 women will take a seat in the House and Senate this January. And that's important. While they are predominantly Democrats, a good number are Republicans. I am one of those people who believes it's better to have more women at the table when they are formulating public policies that impact our lives. I know this is a lot coming from somebody you hardly know. How do we live in the same neighborhoods, the same townships and cities? How do we share so many of the same struggles and still not understand the power of our collective solidarity? Unlike so many others, I am not willing to write you off, and this letter isn't about flinging shame your way. Shut the fuck up. Again, just own it. Just own that that's what you want to do. And I'm sorry, I'm not part of anybody's collective solidarity. I'm an individual. I will do as I damn well fucking please, and I really don't give a shit what any other person, man or woman, or whatever other gender you want to identify as, has to say about it. Fuck off. Like, if you can't understand that women are individual people, fuck off. Bye. Get out. Toodles. Last paragraph. I really do hope we will stop for that cup of coffee. I sincerely hope one day I will be able to count on you as an ally, to call you, without hesitation, my sister. Well, Goldie, if you want somebody to be your ally, you gotta kind of, be nice to them every now and again. You got to try to see something from somebody else's point of view. You got to be able to actually listen to an opposing point of view and not try to shut it down or slime somebody or shame somebody or make it out to where if you don't believe the way I believe, then you're a fucking idiot. That's the first thing you got to do if you want to convert somebody into being your ally. But apparently, we ain't quite got there yet. So, I don't know, Goldie. I don't know what you and your ilk are really trying to do or think you're going to accomplish with this, but you're not, because you're just I don't understand being this bad at messaging. And I'm a libertarian. And we're not that great at messaging, but I don't understand being this bad at messaging, you know? But yeah, it's just we've made it to the end of the piece, everybody. Congratulations if you made it this far. But I will go ahead and wrap this up by saying that, obviously, like I said, I am definitely not Goldie's target audience for this, probably. I mean, I don't know if lefty women even understand that libertarian women exist, and if they do, what God knows they think of us. I mean, if this is what you think of conservative women, I have no fucking clue what they think about libertarian women, and I don't know if I want to know, because it's probably just going to piss me off. But yeah, if you are somebody who does genuinely believe in equal rights and women's rights and stuff like that, to me, being a libertarian is the obvious, logical political stance. Obviously, I am very, very, very much in the minority. I hope one day to not be. Hopefully. Ladies, maybe we can do some outreach. Maybe we can reach out to the conservative women and present a kinder, gentler something other than this, that's actually kind of an idea I'm playing around for some other stuff. But anyway, let me go ahead and wrap this up, because this has already gone way, way longer than I planned for it to. So, as always, if you did make it this far, thank you. And if you did like it, please rate, comment, and subscribe. You can find me on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, and YouTube. Take care, and until next time.